exciting, so thanks for joining. I wanted to ask all of you to please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, and our panelists will be happy to answer questions, and we hope we'll have also time at the end to answer those questions live. So right now, I would like to first introduce our company, Access Innovation. We're based in Tel Aviv. We work with a number of international corporations to help identify innovative startups. And we also work with startups on their fundraising rounds and organize events. And we'll be happy to invite you to our upcoming events in 2021. Since COVID, we've been moving virtually and have had over 20 virtual events with thousands of participants, and I'm glad that you can join us. So I'd like to first open up the session by introducing from Prague, Martina Tovarova, the Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade from the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Czech Republic. Thank you, Martina, for joining us, and please unmute yourself. Thank you, Martina.
Thank you, Ed, for the introductory remarks, and good afternoon to you all, both here in the Czech Republic in Prague, as well as to other cities, and also to our Israeli partners. It is a great pleasure for me to greet you all and to join you today at the beginning of the Czech-Israeli Virtual Forum. I'm really pleased that we've come to organizing this event, which I'm really grateful and would like to thank to our main partners, which is Access Innovation. Thank you, Ed, as well as the Czech Embassy in Tel Aviv, and the agency Czech Invest. So we all together with my Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Czech Republic have joined our forces and bringing together this very nice and organizing this very nice venue. I would like to greet all participating companies, startups, and experts and distinguished speakers. And I very much hope that that we'll be able to deliver on our overall aim, and that is to bring these parties together and to establish new contacts. Let me briefly say that the Czech Republic and the State of Israel, that we are genuine partners on many fronts, and what really combines us and brings us together is the shared values, and also it's the passion for innovation and for technological progress. And as we in the Czech Republic and the Ministry of Industry and Trade are striving for bringing the Czech Republic among the top innovative countries in Europe in the years to come. We have prepared an innovative strategy for the upcoming years up to 2030. We are definitely ready to learn, and we are definitely ready to learn from the best. And that is what brings us together with our Israeli partners, because we know who are the right ones to ask for advice, and also from which country we can basically learn your experience and your approach towards a startup ecosystem, how to create it, and also the determination you are well known for to excel in all fields of research, and the innovative drive. The Czech Republic is to a certain extent already connected to our Israeli partners in the startup sector. You may know that one of the leading Czech automotive companies, the Škoda Auto, opened in Israel its own research center, Škoda Auto DigiLab, which actively cooperates with the Israeli startups developing new technologies for automotive sector, such as active noise control systems, safety sensors, or new power system for charging electric vehicles. However, we understand totally, and we are humble enough to know that there is much more potential to be explored, and therefore we have really grasped at this opportunity to have this exchange of ideas and share experience. There are 6 Czech startups and incubators represented here today, which show the best of the Czech technology, innovative spirit, and commitment to advancement. Therefore, without any further ado, I would like to wish you all a productive discussion. And on behalf of the Ministry of Industry and Trade, I would like to pledge our continued support for your efforts, including the organization of startup missions to Israel, hopefully in a not too distant future. And I wish you all pleasant Christmas holidays, and I really wish and looking forward to having the chance to meet you in person next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I want to introduce Delana Mikolasova, who is joining us and is organizing this event. Delana?
Hello, everyone. I'm Delana. I'm the Czech Scientific Counselor at the Czech Embassy in Tel Aviv. And we were originally supposed to have here these 6 Czech startups and incubators physically in Tel Aviv on a 2 weeks intense training. However, Corona happened, and what is left is this virtual forum, and I'm very happy we are all here. So I will be very briefly introducing these 6 participants. As Ed already mentioned, we've created a one-pager that is now currently available in a chat, where you can find the information about all of them, the contact details and their CEOs and information about them. So I will just go quickly through like 6 slides. Each slide is on one of the participants. So please let me share the screen with you. Can you see it now? Yes, great. So I will start with introducing, we have 2 regional incubators. The first one is Moravian Research and Innovation Center in Ostrava. Ostrava is the 3rd largest city in the Czech Republic. We should have Michal Gavlik with us today, and they are very active in the area of SMEs, and basically they are also coordinating the regional innovation strategy. Then we have with us Central Bohemian Innovation Center, represented by their Business Innovation Manager, Jakub Hudec. Bohemian Innovation Center is located in the region surrounding Prague, so they are in a close proximity of Prague, and they closely work with local municipalities, companies, and also research centers that are represented in the area of Czech universities and Czech Academy of Sciences. Now I would like to briefly introduce the startups. We have with us CashReader and his founder Tomáš Jelínek. CashReader has developed a unique AI-powered technology for blind people that helps them actually to recognize or distinguish various banknotes. It identifies more than 90 banknotes of 90 world countries, and it's a great help for blind people. Then we have with us Dan Shushka. He's the founder and the CEO of Advanced Health Solution Company. Their key product is an app called Kenko, which is a virtual assistant for health and sport professionals. Kenko connects professionals with their clients. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a lady with us, Barbora Maleníková. She is the CEO and co-founder of a company called MioMove. MioMove Smart Insole, as you can see here, helps people run and walk better by measuring the pressure of their steps. Currently, they are looking for partners for mass production. And last but not least, the last startup here with us today, it's a startup named Pointy and represented by Ivo Kneip. And their product basically helps large organizations to optimize their processes. If I'm not mistaken, they work with Škoda Auto and large companies. The product uses data to automatically detect strong and weak parts of key processes and gives clear recommendation on what to improve. So this is from me. It's just like a quick introduction. Of course, all the information, as I mentioned, you can find in the one pager in the chat. And I would be really happy to strongly to encourage you to be in touch either directly with these companies you find them interesting, or you can also reach out to them through the chat option here at the Zoom. So thank you all for joining us, and I wish to all of us a great next hour. I'm looking forward to hear now from the Israeli side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delana. I'd like to introduce our first speaker today, Robert Lakin, the CEO of Analytica Research, speaking and giving us background on creating compelling financial content for the investment community. Robert, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me. Good to be here. Let's see, you want to release I can share with you? Okay. Can everybody hear?
Yes, we do.
Are you guys getting my screen?
No. Okay.
Okay.
Should we
No big deal.
should we do that from our end?
Let me see. Hold on 1 second.
Robert, we got it from our end, not a problem.
Okay, great.
Okay, is that can you see that?
Yeah, perfect. So if you could just F5 that'd be great.
Okay.
And you have to click present on the top right.
All right, there we go. Thank you. All right, thanks for having me today. Basically, what I would like to do, next slide if we could. During the few minutes that we have together today, I want to share some insights that I've come to pretty much bring together the various pieces of my experience in financial journalism and consulting and investor communication. Great. How about if I just say next slide when I want you guys to move on? Perfect. Nope, go back. Okay. So experience that I have has been in financial journalism and consulting and investor communication. And if you pay close attention to the picture, you can see that I've spent a little bit of time in Prague pre-COVID, which is always good to have. And I guess all the pictures without masks are after COVID, and with masks or without masks are before. So what's my big insight for you today? Next slide. Basically, what I'm here to tell you is, and advise you, is that you should communicate the way you want to, the way you would if you were running a NASDAQ company. So what does that mean? Well, there's a saying that some of you may have heard, which is that you don't dress for the job you have, but you dress for the job you want. And I'm going to apply that advice here, and that is that you should commit your approach to communication is that you should communicate as the company that you want to be, and not as the startup that you are. So what does that mean? Well, a NASDAQ company, like it is with most Western stock exchanges, requires listed companies to meet a certain minimum level of communication to shareholders and to the investment community. And I'd like to suggest that from the initial stages as a startup, it's really never too early to start communicating like the company that you want to be. Next. Earlier in my work, while I was with McKinsey, I worked on a project that found research found that publicly listed companies that had active and measurable communications programs, they gained a better reputation among institutional investors and stock analysts. And that reputation led to longer term stockholders, so investors that were sticking around for longer, and ultimately higher stock valuations. And the way they did that, when we say what is an active measurable communication program, they put responsibility for communication strategy and execution really at the C level, at the senior levels of the company. They also made how a company communicates and how individuals are involved in those communications, they made that part of their performance review. And in some cases made it part of their compensation. It was a small part of the performance review, a small part of their compensation, but it was measurable and it had some effect. And what they also found is that if they're able to tap multiple outlets and not just go into the financial press and pursue opportunities for those executives to write articles and to have a byline, those were also very valuable. So that was the experience I had with the publicly listed companies, which led me to a question. Next slide. And that question is, could this apply to startups? And so over the past 5 years, I've been tracking whether or not this same approach, with a little bit of adjustment, could be applied to startups. Next slide. So looking at about 100 startups in Israel and Europe and in the US, the early research has had some very interesting results. Those startups that decided early on to make a communication program a priority were able to raise more money. They were able to typically bring investors along for follow-on rounds. So in other words, early seed investors stayed around for an A series stayed around for a B, and so on. They saw that when they communicated, they were positioning themselves in the marketplace, both amongst their competitors and amongst industry insiders, as the place to work. And so what that led to is that there was shorter time to fill key positions because they were the place where people really wanted to be. And the other thing about it is that it created a sort of a virtuous cycle, if you will, where the company and the founders and the executives became at the top of the journalists' first to call list. So that if somebody needed to get a writer or a reporter needed to get a quote or an idea about the industry or about the technology, those founders, those CEOs who had been active in communicating were actually also the ones who were sought after for their inputs. Next slide, please. So how do you do that? What I'm going to tell you here is I don't think that anything that I'm going to tell you in the next few minutes is going to be rocket science, and it's probably not going to surprise you, but it's worth noting that it's easier not to do this than to do it. So I'm going to give you a little insight into how to do it. Next slide, please. To begin with, you need to commit to communicate at least once a month, at least once in every quarter. It'd be better if you did it at least once a month, but understand you've got a lot of things to do, and sometimes that doesn't happen. The point here is that you begin to establish a communication or a messaging discipline, and you begin to build the rigor that's needed. Another point to consider is that in a perfect world, you would only have good news to communicate. And when you do have that, when you do have the good news, you should communicate that. What's good news? A new customer, a new project, a new solution, new hires, especially key hires. Always look at every decision that you make as an opportunity to communicate. You aren't necessarily going to write a 200-word article or 300-word article on everything you do, but get in the habit of communicating and thinking about your achievements in how would you tell that story. So communicate both good news and not so good news. Another point is that just as you have a go-to-market strategy or product development plan, you need to early on create a communication strategy that guides your messaging. And the best way to do that is to put it on paper. Again, nothing too complex, but have it down on paper so that you can refer to it. Others can look at it. You can share it with others in the company, and everybody understands that you've committed to putting something on paper. So that's your first step in actually making the communication happen. Next slide, please. Everything begins with a blank sheet of paper. Communications planning does that too. You want to look at thinking about all the activities, all the actions that you're doing. Look at what's your objective in communicating it. Think about what's your message for your audiences. Who are the stakeholders in your message? And what are the vehicles? What are the different mediums, the platforms that you're going to want to use for this? And then think about both the timing and the responsibility. Next slide, please. Your audience is going to change on a constant basis, depending on what it is you're communicating, where it is you are in your company timeline. You've got to look at your audience and think about all the different audiences and the sub-audiences and the stakeholders that you have within that. Next, please. Think about who do you want to hear your message? You've got your investors. They're one audience. You've got your customers. They're another. Your employees, your potential employees, your competitors are actually an audience. Your suppliers. So as you think about your strategy and as you think about your communications plan, try and sit down and analyze all the different audiences that you have, because that list of your audiences is going to drive how you pursue your communication.
Sorry, Robert, you have 2 more minutes.
That's fine. You want to pick your platform. Next 2 slides, please. We're living in a time where content is everything. And so when you think about the best place for your message, I look at that 2 buckets here. One is platforms that are under your control, and the other is the platforms that are not under your control. So the ones that are under your control are the ones that you can basically blast through all sorts of different communication. Your company blog should be updated on a regular basis. I'm amazed at the number of companies where I look at their website, I look at their blog, and the most recent posting is from April 2018 or so, a year and a half ago. You're telling me that nothing else has happened since then that you want to write about? Come on, give me a break. LinkedIn is also a great place. LinkedIn is a great place because it gives you visibility with all those audiences that we talked about before, that I talked about in the last slide, but then also gives everybody that you're connected with an opportunity to share your story. So you get that whole long tail effect of your message. Then there's that other category of not under your control. Local bloggers, industry media, tech journalists, those sorts of people. You don't have control over what they're going to write, but you do have control over how you're going to reach out to them. And you need to think about if you've got a message, what's the best place? Do you want it something under your control where you can write whatever you want? Or do you want to put it out there as a story and have them put their spin on it? Next slide talks about let many voices speak. so next one after that, please. Who's the best voice for the message? It's not always the CEO. It's not always the founder who's the best voice. And here I want to encourage you to let everybody who can within your company write and share and communicate. So in other words, the CTO might write about a new solution. The CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, might you might want to have that person be the byline and writing on LinkedIn about your new marketing plan.
Okay, Robert, I'm sorry.
What's that?
Sorry, but we want to move on to our next speaker. So,
okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert. Appreciate those feedbacks. And again, please feel free to be in touch with Robert over the chat, and I'm sure he'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. I want to introduce our next panelist, Shira Altschuler, the Innovation Manager of the Global Breakthrough Innovation Team at Kimberly-Clark. Shira, would you like to introduce yourself, and then I'll be asking you questions about how you work with startups at Kimberly-Clark.
Sure. First of all, thanks, Ed, and I'm very excited to be here today. So hi, everyone. My name is Shira Altschuler. I'm working in Kimberly-Clark almost 10 years. My background is from marketing. I used to be brand manager, senior brand manager for a few categories in Kimberly-Clark. In the last 4 years, I'm part of a global team that is called the Breakthrough Innovation Team, which is kind of an incubator team inside the company, working on bringing innovations from technology and digital product aspects, working with startups, doing scouting. My team is working cross categories and cross regions, and I'm based in Israel.
Okay, thank you, Shira. Could you give us an example of a successful startup that you've engaged with in your role at the innovation team?
Sure. So this is something that we already published, so I can speak about it. I think like 2 or 3 years ago, we worked with an Israeli startup that is called Kwik, Kwik, and they had an idea of something that is similar to an Amazon Dash-like button, the button that you press and you can order products in one click. And we decided to work with them, to collaborate with them, and had a very successful pilots with consumers here in Israel for the Huggies brand, the diapers brand. And it was amazing. We had meaningful learning from that. We got into consumers' house, presented them the button, watched silently how they, install the button, what they do with that, how they work with that. We learn about their behavior, how much time they're ordering diaper, in which days, in which hours, what is the frequency of ordering. And it's really, knowing your consumers from very direct way and receiving a lot of data from that.
How did you find that company?
One way we work with startups is like, connection, someone that knows someone, and they're trying to work with us. Other ways is that we are doing startups scouting on our own. Before the COVID time, we used to do it face-to-face in different locations in the globe. One of them was with you, Ed. But now in the COVID period, we're doing it virtually, which I think it's creates new opportunities for us.
Could you? We have a question actually from Stefania Take. What industries does Kimberly-Clark team look for?
So mainly, we are working on technological solution that relates to our core business. It can be for baby and child care, adult care, feminine care, and family care. So most of our work is something that is related to the core. I also need to say that we are not, if we see something that is interesting enough, we will be happy, to hear about new things, because I really believe in the say, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that there is a great openness in Kimberly-Clark to hear about new ideas. Of course, that beside those categories that I mentioned, we're also looking for technologies in areas like sustainability and logistics and all other areas that are related to our daily work.
Maybe startups are used to working pretty quickly. I think Kimberly-Clark, one of the world's largest companies, it probably takes a long time for you to evaluate companies. Could you tell us a little bit about how long it takes and what the expectation should be for a startup when they send you a new idea?
Yeah, so this is one of the, I think, biggest barriers of corporates like us working with startups. We are working in completely different speed, and we are aware of that. And I think that when a startup has a wish to work with Kimberly-Clark or other companies, you need to take into account that it might take a little bit longer than you used to work. You know, we are committed to our consumers, so everything needs to be regulated and legal approved, and there are kind of bureaucracy that needs to be also taken into the process. So I think that once you set the expectation on the table, both sides won't be frustrated from the process.
The company that you had mentioned, Quick, could you give us an idea how long that process took from the time that you met them until actually a deal was made and implementation happened?
So actually, this was kind of a quick process because, you know, they already have a final product, and all we need to do is to get a product from them, do a little bit branding, and then meet consumers, which is quite easy to Kimberly-Clark, you know, to meet consumers. So if I need to estimate, I think it was like 3 months of planning before we started the pilot.
Okay, and how is that process going? Are you working closely with that company now that it's succeeding?
No, so unfortunately, it stopped in the pilot stage. Although it was very successful, I know there were plans to, you know, take it to scale up with that, but due to different circumstances in the company, we stopped after 2 pilot rounds.
Many of the startups that we meet are very concerned about their privacy and sometimes are worried that large companies might take some of their ideas. How do you work with startups to protect their privacy? Do you have them sign NDAs? I'd like to hear a little bit about how you put startups at ease when they come to you with a new idea.
So as you mentioned, Kimberly-Clark is a large corporate, and we do have many IPs and many patents on our own. But I would never work with a startup before I sign on an NDA with them. It's a mutual NDA, so both sides are supposed to be safe. Our legal department is very cautious about it. You know, we know that startups are less legal protected than Kimberly-Clark. And we really working on taking care for their safe and their ideas. We don't like, you know, buy ideas. We work to collaborate together. And from my experience until now, the data and the new information that is gathered from the point we start to work with startups is usually belong to both sides, you know, not only for one side, and eventually we succeeded to work in a way that both sides are satisfied with.
So the first approach to you before an NDA would just be like a 2-sentence description and a link to a website. And if you're interested, you say, look, this might sound interesting. Let's have a phone call. And then at that point, you'd have an NDA?
Yeah, so even when we do scouting, we always mention our startups, please do not share any confidential information with us that you won't put in your website. So, you know, it makes a clear status. And once we decide that this startup is interesting enough and we want to follow up with them, the first thing will be to sign on an NDA, and then we continue to speak.
Okay, you work for the Global Breakthrough Innovation Team. That sounds really amazing. Is that an incubator? Is that an accelerator? Could you tell us a little about that department?
Yeah, sure. So the Global Breakthrough Innovation Team is kind of an incubator team that belongs to the R&E organization, Research and Engineering in Kimberly-Clark. I think I'm the only marketeer in this team, which I think I find it very interesting because I'm the one that doing the connection between the consumer needs and the technologies and the product. So I think I bring a very unique perspective to the process. I think that it's quite a young team. I think the team is operating like 8 years now, but it's changes like on a daily basis. The way the team works like 4 years ago when I joined it it's completely different than it works now. We used to work on products like disposable products, and now we're more oriented to technology and digital products. So I think we are trying to invent ourselves every day in order to meet consumers' needs and meet the changed environment.
We have another question from the participant. Do all of the new technologies that Kimberly-Clark sees have to start in Israel?
Sorry again, please?
Do the new technologies that Kimberly-Clark looks at, do they must start with Israel? And
no. Well, I mean, me being based in Israel, it's not just, for it has a reason. Kimberly-Clark really believes in the Israeli ecosystem and knows the uniqueness, but we are working with startups from other regions. We had scouting with startups in Europe and Brazil and the US. As I mentioned, we are working with startups all over the world, as long as we find their ideas relevant for our consumers. So we don't only focus on Israel.
Okay, well, you're based in Israel. What would you say is special about Israeli companies that maybe the Czech companies could learn from?
What is the English word to chutzpah?
Well, it's a Yiddish word, but that's okay.
So, I mean, I think the Israeli culture is, it's kind of unique. It's a melting pot here, and a lot of army, a lot of people that had a military service, and I think most of the Israeli startups that we met, you can feel the leadership among their people, and they're trying to push forward in a gentle way, in a very Israeli unique way. So, I feel very proud when we're working with Israeli startups, but I also think that we met excellent startups from other places than Israel.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Shira. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to be getting some more ideas from some of the participants today. And sure. Thank you for joining us. And just to remind you, after the session, you'll be having a breakout room with some of those Czech startups. Now I'd like to thank you very much, Shira, for joining us. And now I wanted to move over to Michael Mizrahi, who's the director of the AtoBe Accelerator in Jerusalem, who's going to give us a little background on how do you build a successful accelerator and connect it to the world. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Ed. Thank you to Exist Innovation and the Embassy. A great pleasure to be here. I'm gonna give you a little bit our perspective of the acceleration world in Israel. I don't know if you can see this. Can you?
Not yet.
Not yet. Just a second. Yeah.
Again, I encourage all of the participants to ask our panelists questions on the chat.
Yes, please do. Hopefully you can see this now.
Okay, we're good.
We're good. Is it in just a second? Good. So again, thank you for being here. I'm here to tell you the story of AtoBe Startup Accelerator in 15 minutes, and I'll try to be on time. We are located in Israeli College of Engineering, the only college in Jerusalem teaching engineering and technology for the last 20 years. We are teaching 6 departments of engineering. We have 2 faculties that is also giving master's degree, and we are in the very center of R&D in Jerusalem, just across the road from the Hebrew University with its Nobel Prize winners, and 4 minutes driving from on each direction of this Begin's Boulevard to the two industrial parks in Jerusalem, Har Chotzvim and Malcha. In and around us, we have Lev College. We have the one of the biggest hospitals with its R&D center, Shaarei Tzedek, just across the road. Everything to do with R&D in Jerusalem is in and around us, and it's very important in terms of the ecosystem. Within the college, we have AtoBe helping students, alumni, people from Jerusalem and the area, and faculty members to develop their idea into a startup company. And we are starting the 5th cohort today. Sorry, not the 5th, the 7th cohort, 7th year of AtoBe. We're starting it today. I want to say something about the Israeli startup nation spirit, because there was a question about it. This is the car industry in the 60s in Israel. It used to be made out of fiberglass, and there were based rumors that camels used to eat this car. And we all know that Škoda just opened an R&D center. And I think one of the reasons that they did is because of Mobileye. Mobileye, Jerusalemite startup that was actually acquired by Intel, $15.3 billion, is actually the basis, is actually supplying the base of any autonomous vehicle in the world, almost, including Škoda. And the idea that a car used to look like this, and we had a car that is actually a steering wheel, an engine, doors, and seats. And now we know that all of this is that it's just a coverage for a computer, and each and every one of us has a computer at home. So each and every one of us can be a part of the car industry. And if you look at smart housing, each and every one of us can be a part of the infrastructure and the housing industry. When we are looking at the medical devices and smart medical devices, each and every one of us can be a part of this industry as well. If you have a laptop, you can deliver it. And this is a part of the Israeli startup nation spirit that we discussed before. AtoBe was established seven years ago with the blessing of the mayor, Nir Barkat, actually an entrepreneur himself. He founded one of the very first cybersecurity companies in the world, and one of the most successful cybersecurity companies nowadays, Checkpoint. We are actually supplying students, alumni, people from Jerusalem and the area, and faculty members 4 tools to develop their idea into a startup company. The first one is a fully equipped working space, anything they need physically to be a startup, from the coffee machine to the conference room. Second is a very unique 6 months program in which we have polished a list of 100 mentors that gives the very best know-how, practical know-how, hands-on know-how on how to develop your idea into a startup. And those people already sold 1 or 2 companies. And they are running a VC, they're angel investors themselves, and so on. And it's not an opportunity to hear a lecture. It's a workshop, meaning after you hear a lecture from one of our mentors, you sit and work on your material, on your company. And not only that you're getting this know-how, you are also introduced to the industry, and you are extending your LinkedIn networking system. So this is one of the most, or the most important thing for a startup. We also located ourselves within the Academic College of Engineering, which means that we have a lot of academic support and a lot of academic and engineering tools handy. So if you want to 3D print anything, if you want to meet a professor, take an academic course, if you want to borrow devices from the library, and even get interns to work in your startup without having to pay them, you can actually extend the number of engineers working in your startup, and you could base it on fourth-year students that are actually doing their final project in engineering. The fourth tool is our partners, and we gathered a lot of friends to help us support our startups. We have Microsoft, Amazon, and Google handing out support worth of approximately $1 million cloud computing services, software, and consulting from the biggest in the industry. We have Bank Poalim High Tech supporting our companies and actually handing out prizes to the winners in the demo day. We have Deloitte supporting us with business consulting and accounting. 5 of the biggest law firms in Israel are supporting our startups pro bono, and lots of other tools. In the last 6 years, we actually accomplished or helped 59 companies raising over $35 million. And we are taking nothing out of it. No equity, no royalties, nothing in return. This is a gift to the city of Jerusalem, and we are sponsored by the government. I want to say something about, I'm gonna maybe give one example on one of our startups. But maybe before that, before we go to the examples, we are actually offering what we call an accelerator in a box. We have the know-how on how to build good, solid acceleration program in the academia. And therefore, we are collaborating with lots of institutions around the world. This is one program that we recently finished with Prime Point and with the Academic University of Ohrid in Macedonia. We did a pre-acceleration program over there based on our mentors and based on the Macedonian ecosystem and mentors. We are conducting hackathons all over the world. We hosted 7 heads of states and lots of ministers and municipalities and other leaders that wants to take their company or their city to the next level in terms of young employment. And this is what we do, Accelerator in a box. We accomplished to actually build Accelerator Frankfurt in Frankfurt, Germany, together with the German and the Finnish team. This is me without the beard. I really like the beard. And we finished the 8th, we're finishing the 8th cohort of Accelerator Frankfurt to actually 2 days from now. We helped the UN Habitat plan a chain of accelerators in Africa. And this is the Czech Republic connection that we have here. We signed a contract with the presence of the President of the Czech Republic and the Technical University in Prague, together with our close partners, VDT, and we have on board Robert Pergel. Robert, you can actually open the mic and say hi to everybody. We are planning to have a chain of accelerators in the Czech Republic, together with the Technical University of Prague. And we are very proud of this connection. Robert, are you with us? Do you hear me?
Hello, Michael. Of course, I can hear you. Thank you to you and to everyone and to the organizers for this wonderful webinar. All I can say is that the cooperation with Michael and with AtoBe is a great one. We have learned a lot, and we just hope that starting February, we will have a partnership accelerator at the Czech Technical University with all the know-how, taken from AtoBe. Once again, thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Robert. And we're doing those things all around the world. And if you want to help us, if you want us to help you in any way, these are my contact details. Feel free to write me a WhatsApp or an email. Drop me a few lines, and I'll be happy to be at your service. I'll stop the share. I saw that I had some questions that
Yeah, thank you very much, Michael. Just wanted to see if we have people in the audience that want to ask questions of our panelists. So please, unmute yourself or put it into the chat room.
Okay, I see. I'm not sure that those questions are relevant to whatever I had to present here, but I hope I gave you a little bit of what we do at AtoBe, and what I know for sure is the advantages of doing a collaboration with the Czech Republic is amazing. For Israeli startups and for companies from the Czech Republic. And the reason is that you have advantages that we can only dream of. An industry with such a prestige history and best engineering schools and access to Europe and a lot of other things that we can only dream about. We can learn so much from the Czech Republic, and we can actually learn on how to do things not in chutzpah way, like how do you do things when it's organized and how to approach countries in Europe. And we can give our approach with a pinch of salt and try to polish some of the things that you're doing with our approach. But it's a learning process. It's a two-way learning process, and we are here to learn, not only to teach, of course. Very humbled to be here today, and I'm at your disposal if you need anything from me and from AtoBe. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much, Michael. Robert, did you want to make any last comment before we go into the private rooms?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, and Shira, any words of advice for the Czech startups that are with us today?
Just one thing, when you're working on your product or your idea, think of this from the eyes of the consumer. Will it bring added value for him? Will it ease their life? Will you be used it on a daily basis? I think it will be, you will learn great insights from that to understand if your idea is something that is really going to impact on the consumer's life.
Great, thank you. That's a really valuable lesson. Delana, would you like to say a few words?
I would like to thank to all the amazing Israeli speakers. I've been in Israel for quite a while, but I'm always impressed by the quality of presentations and the things you have to say, and we are happy to learn from you. Thank you for finding time for us. Thank you.
Great. So what we're going to do now is thank you very much. So the startups will be going into breakout rooms with the panelists, and we invite everyone else to stay, and we'll have an open networking for those of you who want to introduce yourselves and hear a little bit about Czech-Israel relations. So thank you again, our speakers, Shira, Michael, and Robert, for joining us, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy meeting some of the startups. So thank you very much. So for those joining the breakout rooms, we're going to assign you. So we'll do that right now. And then we'll be staying here for people who are not joining.
So the breakout rooms are opened. I'm just assigning now the people who need to go there.
Okay, so for those of you who are here, please, if you can, open up your cameras so we could see you and have a little bit of a discussion. Well, okay. We'll start with you, Glenda. Could you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do. Oh, great.
Hi. Hello. Thank you very much for brilliant discussion and the panels. I am founder of Twixy, which is the early education management platform. And right now we have more than 100 partners they are preschools usually in the Czech Republic and Slovakia. And what we are doing now is that we are planning to enter new markets. Israel is one of them. Currently, we are doing the research about entering and go-to-market strategy. And maybe my question would be, what do you suggest in EdTech, education technologies, whether there is some kind of incubator or accelerator in Israel that may help us? Currently, we are already
and the development in a corporate right now in a corona crisis?
So I think that you know, there is kind of optimistic spirit now because the vaccines are here and are on the way, and I guess that for 2021 companies will be more open for ideas like yours. And even if Nike and Under Armour told you that for now they put investment on hold, it doesn't mean you can't reach, you know, other companies.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that now I have like a feeling that we are almost post-COVID. So I think that creates new opportunities for you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hi everyone, I'm here to help you to manage to moderate a little bit this session because I know that Shira needs to go in 15 minutes. So
yeah, sorry.
Maybe Jakub, you can introduce yourself and tell us more about your company and what are your business.
Hi everyone, I'm representing of Central Bohemian Innovation Center, and why I am here because our mission in the future is to connect our startups, our client, to large enterprises. And one of my question is how to persuade large enterprises to collaborate with startups, and what can be our role what should be our added value in this process.
So I can answer on that based on what we did. I think that corporates like us are working with startups in two ways. One of them is making their own searches and you know looking for startups based on company needs and areas of interest. So one way is to meet those companies with you know startup that really answers those needs that like Kim and Kaka are looking for. And the other way is to like doing it in a push way. So you know knowing which startups you are holding in your company, know what their added value, what they can bring to those corporates, consumers, or is it B2B companies? But you need to know, I think, this unique thing about the startups that you're working with to understand what will be this specific thing that will change a meaningful thing is those corporates that you want to work with. And it's not easy because, you know, there are many technologies outside and many companies, many startups are working on the same areas. But from what we did is, I mean, I think that in Kimberly-Clark, we found those startups that really brings this unique angle and bring this really added value that we felt it's worth enough to work with them.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Ivo, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself. You're muted.
For sure, I'm.
Hi.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Josep. I'm from Startup Pointy. What we do is that we help big organizations to manage their processes through some data analytics. So we give managers superpower, we always say. in terms of analyzing the data from their information systems, and showing them what they could do to improve the processes to save money, basically. So we have this technical startup. We do B2B, of course, and our major, clients are big organizations. One day we would like to, have business partners from Fortune 500, of course. And there are many questions that pop out to my head, on the top, maybe usually the way as I see it, to be successful within a large organization is to find a champion that will actually promote your solution and your startup, someone who will really be excited in what you do, and who will even from inside, let's say, push your solution. So the question is, where do you find those people and how you actually make the connection? And especially now in those difficult times of COVID, and there are not so many, networking opportunities. So this is maybe the first question I would have. What is the best way to find people who support innovations within large organizations, and how to connect to them effectively?
So before I answer your question, I need to apologize for the background sound if you hear my son crying, because this is one of the challenges of working from home. Okay, so I think that's a very good question, first of all. I think that sometimes, I'm getting a lot of people from startups that approach me through LinkedIn. I think they find me there and identify my role as something that can help them get their ideas into the corporate. But I also believe that creating innovation in a company is not just from people like me, like innovation managers. I think it's something that needs to be cross-company and needs to be part of the company culture. I really believe in that. So I think that sometimes it's really a matter of timing, because it can be that you will meet someone from Kimberly-Clark, and for that specific timing, maybe your idea won't be that relevant, but maybe 6 months after, the company, will change strategy and will look for what you're working on. So even if you find someone that, doesn't see at this point any kind of collaboration with your company, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to, to try again later on.
Yeah.
So I think this is the first thing. I think LinkedIn is a good platform for that. I think that scouting that companies are doing is also a good opportunity for that. I know that from Kimberly-Clark, we're doing a specific search for specific needs and challenges, and startups are contact us based on those scouting. And sometimes even if you find someone that isn't necessarily the person that you would speak about your idea, maybe he can connect you, with other people in the company. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's sometimes it's hard to find this specific person that will help you prompt your ideas. Yeah, that's one of the challenges, I think, working with big corporates. Many people, many functions. Yeah.
And I totally agree with what you said. There is that I always say it's like a sinusoid. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And when you reach out to a person and there is the need, it's on the top of the of the cycle. Then you had the great luck, and you can make a deal. But it's not always, and you need always to extend the network. And that's I agree with. And is it common actually to on LinkedIn in Czech Republic? Sometimes I get the feeling that people are not used to to this kind of networking, and often they just discard all the conversations. They don't answer, or
I guess it depends on culture. most of my colleagues in Kimberly-Clark doesn't work with LinkedIn, but I feel that in my role, LinkedIn is a very meaningful tool. I'm meeting a lot of interesting startups that I met on LinkedIn. I create, one-on-one meetings with them, and then based on the meeting, I decide if it's something that it worth sharing with other people on my team, or to share it with other people that doesn't necessarily work on the same field as me. But I don't know, maybe I'm used to work with it and it sounds very reasonable for me. And of course, working with companies that and partners that like ecosystem that really hold a few startups together, and then they have a bigger power and they are more have bigger impact to work with corporates. So you can also reach to corporates through those ecosystems companies. This is what I can think about.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks.
Sure. Any other question?
Well, I have. I don't know if others, maybe we can wait a bit.
Could be yours, Ivo.
So I can have one more. I have one more question. I have plenty of questions. There's one particular. When we actually succeed, in all this pre-sale, and we get to the point that we have the champion, and we are negotiating a project within a large organization, then what I feel is that willingness to pay and this belief in the startup, it's very low, because you don't have the reputation, you don't have too many references, and you don't have leverage to negotiate, a good price for your services. Very often, you need to build up your reputation, and then you can start building some nice, checks. But at the beginning, this is maybe the question is how not to get bullied, into some dumping prices, because big organizations, they are used to have, Deloitte and those big four consultancy, rates. And compared to that, we are really like a super cheap company, but we would love to not to be, So how actually you negotiate the price when you don't have the leverage at the very beginning of the startup life?
So I can speak from the perspective of Kimberly-Clark. I think we have some background noise.
Sorry, maybe.
I can speak from my experience. So usually Kimberly-Clark, when we work with startups, we don't invest money. If you fund money for startups, we usually don't work like this. We usually collaborate with startups. So based on their idea, we find a mutual interest and trying to pilot together with the startups. And I understand the negotiation part, but you also have to understand that from our perspective, when a startup is working with a company like Kimberly-Clark, it has an impact meaning. It means that afterward, when we look for investors, he can say, okay, I did a pilot with Kimberly-Clark, one of the 500 Fortune companies, and this is something that is worth money for a startup. We don't work for free with startups, of course, but we create some kind of agreement that is acceptable for both sides. I truly believe that the startup needs to be satisfied. It needs to feel valuable. It needs to feel appreciated. And the fact that we chose to work with this specific startup means that his idea is interesting enough for a company like ours. So I think both sides need to look on what their benefit from working together, and based on that to create an agreement that is working for both sides. Did that answer your question? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Definitely answers my question. And I still think, though, that if the startup is bringing enough value, nothing is for free. So then there should be some willingness to pay, of course.
I completely agree. Yeah.
What do you say? Get those logos, on a web page. Yeah, we work with them, and it's great. That's super important as well. And that's actually the phase we are now in. We have a few big brands working with, and we need now to do the transition from like this piloting together into having cash flow and just negotiating the good price for the services we provide.
Good luck with that.
Thanks.
Barbara, Jakob, any questions?
Okay,
No?
I have one. How can a startup reach now to collaboration with the corporates? I know that you mentioned LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn. I think I have a quite good network on LinkedIn, but honestly, most of these contacts I gain in offline conferences, huge conferences where you can meet a lot of people from all around the world. And when you met someone interesting from corporates personally on action on an event like that, it's much more easily to start communicate with him or her via LinkedIn. I tried many times to start contact or communication directly via LinkedIn with the people who are interesting for me from the corporates, but they didn't know me, never saw me, never met me personally, and it usually doesn't work. And I see a very big difference with personal communication, like on the big conferences. And do you have some idea how to do it now?
So I agree that nothing replaces a good face-to-face meeting. Even me that working in global world and working virtually even before COVID, I know what you mean. But this is the reality, and I mean, we need to adjust ourselves to the reality. And if it means to participate in meetups, virtual meetups, or participating in virtual events. So this is the situation now. Look at the optimistic side, as I've mentioned before. We're almost after COVID, I hope. But I mean, look those virtual events, look those virtual opportunities now. You only need this one person that meet you virtually and see what an amazing idea you have, and then the sky is high from there. You only need this one specific person. And I know it might be frustrating during the way, but I guess I don't have anything to say that then patience is one of the most important things in those processes.
I know. We have a little problem because we have a real product which is full of centric system, and the most impressive how to introduce our products to public is to show them how it works, and if they can touch it and see how it works, that it really works, it's really sensitive and it's very nice. And this is the most impression of our product. So
and what about creating like a video or a 1-minute clip that
we of course have some videos, but offline life, it's always better. So as you mentioned, we have to be patient and hope that world will turn on the right way early. I hope so.
Well, thank you very much. I think we need to let Shira go. Thank you very much, Shira.
Thank you, Shira.
Thanks for your time.
It was great meeting you, and good luck to you all.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you, guys. You can leave the room, and I think there is still a discussion in the main room, so we can return to there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
nice
very
to
much.
meet you.
Bye. Nice to meet you too.
But unless I have good web page, unless I have good communication in English, partners will not find me. So also with the chamber, I am working, and with Delana and with Nela, we are preparing a seminar for Czech companies, sort of how to prepare to reach out for Israeli partners. And again, there is a great potential. I know about company Startup Food Group, for example, that was part of the V4 program, and that they really profited from the personal stay in Israel, the ability to see the ecosystem, to get instant feedback. This is always that I am amazed at, that whenever I go to working space in Tel Aviv, someone sits next to me, they pitch their elevator page, they ask me for feedback. And I think these are just things I'm looking forward to the vaccination and COVID times be able, because some things can be done at the distance, and for some things you just need to go there and experience the vibes.
Right. Thank you very much, Linda. So I think that, Shira mentioned, the Israeli willingness to always try something and speak to people. So we have, for example, most of the people participating right now are mostly from the Czech Republic. But here we have Daniel N, who is actually an active investor. If this was an Israeli group, then every single one of these startups will be sending Daniel messages now saying, this is my company, this is what I'm looking for, and when are you going to send us the money? So I think that you have a chance now to try that, and I think that really what we need to do is learn from each other. I think there have been some really good Czech companies that participated today. Actually, I saw that Barbara was joining us, but she dropped off. She's still here. Barbara, maybe you can give us a little background on your company and how you're planning to expand overseas if you hear us and want to participate. I guess not. Okay. Well,
yeah. I'm sorry. Okay. I spoke about it with Shira. We planned to reach the corporate big sports brand companies. We have KPMG, which is one of the big 4 accounting company in the world. And they are our partners with some acquisition, let's say. But the problem was in this COVID times that these corporates told us that the product is interesting, of course, but they are not invest now. They are stopped the development department, and they are waiting after the crisis will pass by. So we had to turn our attention to another area of life. So we are now focusing on medical companies, because we also noticed a lot of attention and aim from the medical companies, from the physiotherapists, and from, for example, running coaches. So now we are negotiating with the 2 companies who want to have our technology. And we have also one smaller shoe brand who is doing running shoes. So I think it's on a good way. And I hope that we will early be on the market with our smart insole, with our smart technology.
Great. Just to tell people who aren't familiar, so Barbara is the CEO and founder of MioMove, who have developed innovative pressure sensors that help people measure their steps. And we learned a little about their company, and of course now health is becoming even more important as people are just sitting home all the time, and these are quite important. So if we have anyone else who would like to comment, glad that you participated with us, Barbara, and hope that it was helpful. Anybody else want to introduce themselves and give us any last few comments before we end the session? Okay, well, thank you very much, all of you, for joining, and wish you all good holidays, and stay healthy, and let's hope that the vaccinations do what they're supposed to do. And
okay, thank you very much for all. Bye.
Ed, thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you, Daniel Maron, Ambassador Maron. It's a great honor to have you here. I hope that you hear me. I was finishing the private sessions, and if anyone wants to contact me, I'm going to write the contact details over here.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye. Have a good evening.
Okay. Have a good evening. Thank you very much. And we will meet again, hopefully in person. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
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 Looking forward. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.